Cooking with honey. This is part 5 of our honey study, and I'm going to share with you how to compare cooking sugar versus honey and how to measure that out. This was a book that I've told y'all about, 1972. I don't know if you still can find it, but today we are going to be doing a honey roasted chicken. And like my son used to say, "Ma, you sure do got a good scald on that chicken." Welcome back to the Cozy Cottage Homestead. Today is part 5 of our honey study. We're going to cover cooking with honey and how to measure honey out instead of using sugar in many of your recipes. It's pretty simple, and we'll go over that in just a minute, but I wanted to share some of the recipes from Cooking with Honey by Hazel Berto, I believe is the name. This was a book that was in print in 1972. There are lots of other newer books out there on this topic of cooking with honey, and you literally can use honey to cook with anything in place of sugar. You just have to measure it a little bit differently because honey is actually very sweet, and it's actually sweeter than sugar, and you just have to adjust your measurements when you're cooking with honey. So I was going to share a couple of recipes, and I'm also going to cook something in just a second. See, I have my pages marked. They show in this book a Christmas fruitcake, making it with honey instead of using sugar. But literally, y'all, you can make anything you want without using sugar. This is one that I've started using, and I really like it. I do like to make a lot of smoothies. Yes, I was a big fan of going to Smoothie King and started finding out about the artificial ingredients and all the extra sugar. You think you're getting this healthy smoothie, but they do actually add sugar and other types of ingredients that isn't healthy. So for me personally, that just defeated the purpose of getting a smoothie, thinking in my mind that it was healthier. So I just got me a little smoothie maker for here at the house, and I make it all natural. But this little recipe goes great with that. And then I add whatever I want extra to it. So it says in this book, though, a honey milk shake. So they're making a milkshake. What I do is make a smoothie out of mine, and I add coconut milk instead of regular milk, and I add the honey, and then they are saying add ice cream, but I use plain yogurt. So I would use the coconut milk. Sometimes I use milk if I have plenty of milk, but usually I use the coconut milk. I keep plenty of cans of that just for that purpose, for making smoothies. And I would add about 4 ice cubes because my little smoothie maker is a small 1 serving size thing. And I add some wheat germ to that, and I add blueberries or blackberries or any kind of fruit that I have canned through the year or frozen. I like to use the frozen better than the canned fruits because it's cold and it makes it more like a smoothie with it being icy. Because I love to drink icy like drinks and stuff. I don't like to drink very many hot beverages, but smoothies, I can just about wipe those things out in no time flat. And I like to put spinach in them and kale in them, and then I don't put sugar, I use the honey. So this particular recipe serves 2, and they're using 2 cups of milk, 1/4 to 1/3 cup of honey, and they're saying 2 scoops of ice cream. But if you want to make it a smoothie, just use the yogurt, and you can still use milk, still good, but I use the coconut milk, and you can just go anywhere you want to go with it. Add whatever kind of nutritional stuff to it. Some people add protein powder, which I don't like to use that again because there's a lot of artificial dyes, colors, sweeteners, and that stuff too. So I try to get the plain and natural stuff. Now let's go over another little quick recipe. I think I have one more marked, and then we'll go into the measurements. But literally, y'all, there have salads in here. In the beginning of the book, it tells you more than 300 delicious recipes for salads, meats, breads, vegetables, candies, beverages, and dessert dishes. So there's really, once you get used to using honey instead of sugar, you can just make it work for just about anything. So this is it says exact conversion chart. I got this from my friend off of her Facebook group. And it just gives you a basic guideline. That this says for baking, but with cooking with other ingredients and other dishes besides just baking, it kind of works the same. But I would just say try it first. Don't use this as the, like it says, exact conversion chart, because it might be a little too sweet for you, or it might not be sweet enough. So it's just a basic guideline. When using 1/4 cup of sugar, you want to use 3 tablespoons of honey. And if you're baking, all of these you want to reduce the temperature of your baking time by 5 minutes, and the degree, like if it says 350, then you want to bake it at 325. So you're reducing it by 25 degrees if you're using honey, and that's because honey will burn faster than sugar. So off to the next one. 1/3 cup of sugar, you're going to use 3 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon of honey to equal that 1/3 of sugar. 1/2 cup of sugar, you're going to use 1/3 cup of honey. 1 cup of sugar, you're going to use 3/4 to 1/2 cup of honey. Again, it's based on your taste. And whenever you're using honey, like in a larger amount, like say the 1 cup, it tells you to add 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and reduce potential liquid by 2 tablespoons. So you want to add a little bit less, like if your recipe calls for cooking oil or milk or something like that, you want to reduce that liquid by 2 tablespoons. So you add the 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda to the 3/4 cup of honey, and that is just to help aerate the honey, because honey is so heavy, so that it will continue baking correctly whenever you're using it as baking. Now if you're just using it in other dishes, it's not necessary to add the baking soda. And personally, I hardly ever have to add the baking soda to any of my recipes that I use, but they're saying that makes the like bread or the cake or whatever you're making fluffier. So just want to keep that in mind. And if you're using 2 cups of sugar, I can't even imagine a recipe with 2 cups of sugar, but there are a few out there. I think I've actually used a couple. So you want to use 1 cup of honey plus 6 tablespoons of honey. And again, reduce that cooking time, that cooking temperature by 25 degrees and the cooking time by 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what you're cooking. So this was just someone's chart. It was going around on Facebook. I shared it from my friend Carrie off of her Facebook page. In doing so, I also found there was one more remedy: honey and cinnamon for colds. I think I covered that in my book. In my book. Listen to me. I don't have a book out yet, y'all. Don't get all excited. I covered it in one of the studies. But this was just talking about how you could use cinnamon and honey for cold. It says to take 1 teaspoon of honey, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Take it 3 times a day. And in no time you should be getting to feeling better. So it was just another one that I came across. There is, if you go look online, there are a lot of charts that have the conversion from sugar to honey. So all you have to do is Google it. It's easy to find. I can email it to you, or you can just Google it and you'll find it. And or maybe possibly post it in a community post for those that don't have access to whatever, I don't know. But anyway, if you want a copy of the conversion chart, you can email me, or I'll put it on the community post and you can find it there. But you can find it in plenty of other places and different ideas of it. So that was all on that. And honey, I mean, I guess it's hard for me to explain it because to me it's a no-brainer. People are acting like they're scared to put honey in different ingredients, like just everyday stuff, like a bowl of oatmeal, put honey instead of sugar. Applesauce, fruit cups, try some honey instead of sugar on your everyday stuff. Coffee is delicious to me, in my opinion, with honey, and plus it's healthier than the sugar in coffee. You can drizzle it on top of cold cereal, and it's delicious like that instead of adding sugar. I don't eat a lot of cereal, but if I do, it's going to have honey in it. You can drizzle it on ice cream. You can put it in your yogurt. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, y'all, really. There's nothing really you can't use honey for in place of sugar. So look into that. Do a little more research if this kind of stuff interests you. I'm going to go over the books that I've used to get some of my information for my study. So if anyone wants to find them. I know this one is still in print. It's a really, really good one. It's called Honey, Garlic, and Vinegar, Home Remedies and Recipes by Patrick Quillin. And I'll try to put these in the description. Lots of good stuff for those that's looking for remedies and stuff. And then this was my old book, Cooking with Honey. It's falling apart. It's a 1972 model. Still looks pretty good, but it's starting to come apart. And this is the one that has a whole bunch of cooking with honey recipes. From A to Z, really. And I know I've Googled it and I've looked, and there are plenty other books out there on cooking with honey. But I like the old-timey stuff. Y'all know I'm old-fashioned, so I found some really interesting recipes in there. And then this one was the Honey Prescription, The Amazing Power of Honey as Medicine, Nathaniel Altman. And I will try to remember to post that in the description. Really, really good book. This is a newer book, and plus I have some other reference books, but these were the main ones that I want to share with today. So I'm going to go over what we're cooking today. It's a very simple recipe. The oven does all the work. I just have to do a little bit. So this is a honey roasted chicken, or oven roasted chicken, a whole broiler. We're going to use 1/4 cup of butter, melted, 1/2 cup of honey, 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So we have our lemon juice, our honey, and our melted butter. I'm just going to add it into a big measuring cup, and I'm going to just add it on top of the broiler. You want to baste it every 20 minutes. You want to bake it for about an hour, depending on what size your broiler is. 3 to 4 pounder is going to bake for about an hour. If it's a little bit bigger than that, you might have to go a little longer. So today, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how I clean up a broiler and prepare it for baking, and use our honey sauce and baste it with that and roast a chicken today. So like I said, the oven is going to be doing most of the work, but I'll move y'all around closer to the sink and show you how I prepare the chicken to roast it. So this was I think this one was 4, almost 5 pound broiler. I'm just going to take it out of the package and show you how I clean it up and how I get it ready to bake. So you always want to wash it off really good. Pull out the wings and everything and wash it. Don't ever just put it in the oven after you get it out the package. You always want to wash it off first. And then you want to get the insides out. Sometimes they have little packages in there. I always pull out the extra fat off of it. Anything extra. And it looks like it might still be a little bit frozen on the inside. I might can get it out though. They'll stuff the neck in there, and gizzards and hearts, liver, which we usually save all that for fish bait. Now if my dad was alive, he would be wanting to make some dressing with it. I don't eat all of those types of things anymore. We ate it growing up. And this is what you're going to find in there. This would be the gizzard. Throw some more water in there and see what else is in there. And some people don't like to get the whole chickens because they don't like to fill around in there and clean all that stuff out, but it is cheaper. So, just one of those things. Mine never matter. I got part of the liver. And you want to let water run in there and clean all that out. And if you don't, and then you see this video and you see how yucky all that looks inside there, you really wish you had cleaned it out before you baked it. I promise you. Sorry if y'all hear my little puppy dog, my little Dachshund, the coffee drinker. He's not doing too good. He's about at the end of his life, and we're to that point making a decision. Just let him finish it out, or if we think he's in too much pain, have him put to sleep. But, you know, it's always a hard thing to do. But once they start getting in a lot of pain, we just kind of got to make that decision. That's the hard part of raising animals on the homestead. You know, it's part of life. Alright, I think I got about all of it out. Just to make sure I rinse it, flush it really good. Rinse it off again. Just basic stuff, y'all, but you'd be surprised how many people do not buy the whole chickens because they just simply not sure how to prepare it. There's so many different ways to roast a chicken or bake a chicken. But this one is going to be with a little honey. Make sure that's clean. Is just basting it with honey throughout the roasting cycle. And I think we're good now. So take your time on it. Go ahead and wash it up good. Alright, get my towel. And after you use anything with the chicken, make sure your sink is clean before you start. And don't share any utensils with nothing else. That's a big, big, big thing with roasting chicken or cooking with chicken. And I'm going to set this up on its side and let it just drip for a few minutes, and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, so I just let it drip in the sink for a few minutes. Try to get the excess water off. See where I'm at here. And then I'm going to put it in a pan. I'll move it closer so I can leave the camera like it is. Alright, so this is the deal. And I used to work in a bakery for all different kind of things. I see lots of people baking chickens and turkeys. There is a little trick to what to do with the wing. Some people just leave it in there just like that and bake it, and that's fine. You can do that. But I've gotten in the habit of doing it the way I was taught, and you just flip the wing back right there just like that. You flip it back, and it usually stays, and flip it back, and then lay it back down flat. And then it just looks prettier in the pan. You could do it either way. And some people tie the legs up, but I don't, because I feel like the breast meat and the dark meat takes longer to cook. So I just let it be. Now the cavity. This is not in the recipe book. This is just something that I do. I take about 1/4 of a stick of butter. I break it up. It's softened, and just shove some in there. And then I have about 2 stalks of celery. We'll see if it'll take all of it. And then I just put them in there. I cut them kind of maybe a couple inches, 3 inches long. And just stuff it as tight as I can get it. All in the cavity. And that's going to help flavor the chicken. I do the same thing with the turkey. If we roast a turkey. And I just keep stuffing the raw celery in the cavity. With this, about 1/4 stick of butter. Now if this was a turkey, it would be a whole stick of butter. And just stick it in there. And if you see any feathers, sometimes you'll find a stray feather here or there. I personally don't like seeing that in the finished product, so I just go ahead and pull them out. But that's what it looks like, stuffed with celery. Looks like a pretty good chicken here, pretty good roaster. I stuck it in a glass pan. I did not grease the pan, nor am I going to cover this one, because this one we're going to be putting our honey sauce on it. And I did get the honey sauce mixed up. Slide that down. So I'm just going to stir it. This was the honey, the butter, and the lemon juice. But before I do that, I'm going to get some paper towels, and I'm just going to pat it dry. And at this point, you could put your salt and pepper on there if you wanted it. That particular recipe was just really, really old. It did not put that, but I am going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on mine. So let's go ahead and get that done. Stick that back in there. And see if we can get this open. My hands might be a little bit wet. Okay. Go ahead and put some pepper on it. Now you could do a lot more seasoning, spices, but if we were not basting it with our honey sauce, then I probably would rub it down with a whole bunch more seasoning just to give that outer skin and everything, the roasting, a good flavor for those that like to eat the skin. And we do put a good bit of pepper. And some of that pepper is going to roll right off of it. So is the salt, since we're going to be basting it about every 20 minutes. So on this particular recipe, we're just going to let that be it on it. And then we have our honey sauce here. And all we're going to do with it to get it started is we're just going to dab some on. You can actually pour it or just dab it on. Make sure you get the legs really good every time you check on it, so that they have some good flavor on them as well. Don't forget about your wings. And that's all we're going to do, is just baste it with this. Of course, you could use a syringe or something and just squirt it on. Or you can just use a little brush. Just use what you have, whatever you have handy. And this will go in the oven at 350 degrees. And it's going to cook about an hour and probably 15 minutes. This one's a little larger. And I will definitely bring y'all back to see what this mouth-watering honey roasted chicken is going to look like. Alright, y'all, I sure wish you could smell how delicious this roasted chicken smells. It smells and looks absolutely wonderful. I wanted to go over the how long I roasted it for real quick, because I think I forgot to mention that. Just a general rule of thumb is about 16 to 20 minutes per pound for chicken in the oven roasted. So I'm guessing this one was between 5 and 6 pounds. So if I did it for 15 minutes and it was 6 pounds, it would took about 90 minutes. I did cook it for about 100 minutes just to be sure. And then after it was done, I cut off the oven and let it rest for about another 10 minutes. And it is ready. There's a lot of delicious like broth in the bottom. And what I will do with that is make like a white brown gravy, but it's going to be like a white tan gravy. I did a video on the gravies a while back. And it's a delicious honey with a little bit of a tang, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And we'll have that over some rice, and I'll have some vegetables on the side. And usually I would make some homemade biscuits also to go with it, but not quite tonight. So anyway, this is the last section of the last part of our cooking with honey, our honey study series, I should say. And that's all I have for the honey for right now. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to email me and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. And don't forget to leave me a friendly comment. I know there are lots of different ways to roast chicken. Chicken, believe it or not, is still pretty frugal, This will provide enough for about maybe 4 grown-ups. So it feeds about 4 people. If you have a family of 8, you could just roast up 2 of them. And it's still going to be pretty inexpensive compared to other meals. So it's still a frugal meal. But I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. It is different, cooking with honey, but it smells absolutely wonderful. And with the lemon juice, it kind of marinates and tenderizes it, and it's just absolutely delicious. So I hope y'all give this recipe a try, and if you have a chance to see if you can find this book, Cooking with Honey, has a ton of wonderful recipes in there, and I'll probably from time to time I'll let you know if I make a recipe from that book, so you'll kind of remember about cooking with honey. And I'll probably share a few more. There's quite a few that I like to do with honey, but this is the one that I chose for today. So hope everyone has a wonderful day, and thanks for joining me today. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave friendly comments. So farewell, Homestead family, friends, and neighbors from the Cozy Cottage Homestead.